Well, good morning. My name is Paul, and this is the Better Human Dads Dadcast.
My name's Steve, also here with Paul. And just to let you know, our mission is very simple: equip and inspire dads, tools, knowledge, and create a community that helps dads grow to be emotionally present and supportive. And today, we have a very special guest, Mike Battson, who I've known for a number of years now. Great dad, great story. And so, Mike, why don't we start it off? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your family?
Oh, well, thanks a lot for having me on. You guys are really on a great mission here and bringing dads
Thank
together
you.
and sharing experiences. I've had a very interesting journey. I remember I found out my first son was on the way when I was 19 years old and was like, I gotta need a job. So like that kind of changed things, and university wasn't the way to go, and I got to end up with a construction laborer job and built my career. But it's been very interesting journey. I remember the first few years was hard to get on your feet, but then as the years have gone on, been able to build such a great family. Like I have my sons Chris and Carter are now 16 and 13. Soccer's life with our family.
Wow.
Like like our whole life revolves
Wow.
around it. It's great. Like sports has always been so important to me growing up and shaping who I became, and to see them on their journey. And like the one thing they do better than me is they're academically inclined too, and it's great to see. Like
Hmm.
they have no idea how successful they're going to be, but I sit there back and I'm like, man, these are good kids. And on my wife and I have been together since like high school. I think we're going on 20 years this August. So
Wow. Congratulations. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
it's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
crazy, but
You know,
le- yeah.
I was gonna say this morning I met with a guy and he got married to his high school's grade 11 high school sweetheart.
Oh,
They've been together for 40 years. So good on
that's
you, man.
great.
That's
Well,
not
I like to
common.
joke that I was cool for 1 year because Kayla was in college when I started dating her. I was in my last year of high school,
Oh
so
yeah.
I was
Wow.
cool for 1 year and then wasn't cool after that. So it's
Yeah,
It's so cool.
yeah. So your kids are 16 and 13. You have two sons.
Yep, two boys. Yep,
Wow. Wow. You have a busy household.
for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
soccer.
it's a lot of fun.
World Cup coming up. I bet you they're probably on their hands watching games and so on.
Oh yeah, no, they're pretty excited for sure.
Cool, cool.
All right.
Yeah. So, Paul, do you want to take
Okay, let's get it started
next
off.
one?
So, Mike, we're always curious of the relationship that dads have had with their dads. So maybe give us a quick intro to the relationship you have between you and your dad.
Yeah, so I have a fantastic relationship with my dad, and kind of always have through the years. One unique thing growing up is I have a identical twin brother and an older sister, so a lot of things end up being me and my brother and my dad doing together. But like,
Oh,
extremely present and caring through life. Both my parents, raised us well. We had opportunity to do so much, and it's you know, I grew up in London, Ontario, and that's where they still are. So I don't live close to my parents now, but we talk on the phone all the time and have an excellent relationship. But I had a really good example of what a good dad looks like growing up, and that was the
Mm,
one thing that
mm,
terrified me having kids young. Was my biggest fear was I'm not going to be able to provide that. Like, didn't plan this. What's life going to look like? And what really drove me through those
mm,
early 20s was I got to work hard to provide a good life for these kids, and they deserve that. And kind of trying to live up to a standard, I guess you could say.
that's
right.
fantastic. Were there some things that your dad did that were lessons learned for you that you kind of brought into being a dad?
Oh yeah, he was really bad at pitching in baseball. So like we learned to swing at everything. So I tried to really focus on doing that better. No, but it was really just it was time spent and being present. A lot of the stuff we did, a lot of things as a family. Like I remember even going through my teenage years, and some of your friends fall off the map, and I always remember like that would have been awkward for us because we did everything as a family. So like I try to model that in our
Mm,
life now. Is like when you spend time to do things as a family, you create that space and openness to have conversations and things like that. If you're like, oh well, my kids are in their teens now and they want nothing to do with me, cool, like that's different. But I always valued you know being able to have that conversation in the car ride, or being able to be present
absolutely.
there. And I think just making the time for that becomes important. I feel like I had that growing up.
Mm.
That's fantastic.
Did
Yeah,
you?
we hear quite often,
Did,
sorry, Paul, we hear quite often that, the kids to go through like a phase, right? But they eventually come back.
Oh
So
yeah,
I think that's important.
definitely.
yeah.
Mm.
Mike, did your dad tell you that he loved you on a regular basis, like your mom and
Yeah,
dad?
I think so. Like throughout the, and watching a lot of the previous episodes, it's actually pretty rare to find, parents that demonstrate
Yeah.
affection for their sons. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty supportive childhood growing up.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
That's good to hear.
Good to
Yeah, that
hear.
was quite a surprise, by the way. We were talking to somebody and he brought it up and talking about how it was so important for him to say it and show it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
we're finding that that's been a common theme, by the way, with a lot of the dads didn't really hear it a lot, but are making sure to say it a lot and do and show it now as dads,
Yeah.
which is kind of
Oh yeah,
cool.
and I make that effort with my
Uh,
kids now too. Right? They're probably annoyed, but it's a I think that's
Yeah.
important. I always try to remember being a kid's hard. It is very challenging.
oh, nice.
It wasn't that long ago I was a kid. I could remember it, and so I just try to have that. If anywhere should be safe, it should be at home. And if there's anyone you can have a
Mm,
conversation with, it should be your dad. And if you put the effort in, like you talk about being better human dads, it's like are you putting that effort in, monitoring it, and building space to have that relationship? Because if you don't, then kids aren't going to talk to you, and you're not going to know what's going on in their world. So I always think that's really important.
Hmm.
mm.
Yeah.
It's
Good
really, really
point.
cool. We started this with this term better human dads, but um, just curious, when you hear that term, what does that make you think about?
Well, I think of it like a mindset, like a continuous improvement mindset. It's like,
This.
what happens if you don't become a better human dad is you might look back and your 20 years have passed and you're just full of regret and like, oh, I should have, you know, booked some time off of work. I should have
Nice.
engaged more. I should have done this. And being a better human dad is being self-aware through every interaction. Like, oh, like, because none of us are our best and we all make mistakes. And there's times where
Yeah.
our tempers are shorter than they should be. But do you make the space to apologize and make it better? Do you make the space to say, hey, something's starting to slip off track. Let's course correct now so that you don't look back with regrets. And you're like, oh no, like,
Mm.
I wasn't perfect, but I did my best. And I think if that mindset's there and we're always self critical of what we're doing, yeah, I think your kids will have a good childhood that way.
Mm.
Mm, that's nice to hear. And I'm glad you say that because for us, it was never about being better than another dad. It was about being personally better. So when you talk about that continuous improvement part, absolutely, that's what we're trying to get people to think like, just like you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
There's
sure.
always a better way. Yeah. There's always a better way. And I think what you said is really important too, Mike, for the guests here for the listeners, is to understand that this learning mindset is key to your success as a dad. Is like you can't just be, this is the way it is. This is the type of dad I am, and we're really trying to promote a learning mindset. Is that you can listen to stories from successful dads, and you can always be better. So I love your learning mindset.
Absolutely.
Um, Let me ask this next question. As a father, is there been anything that you've learned that is kind of like one of those light bulb moments? It's like, oh, I need to do this better.
Yeah, there was definitely some moments for that too, where it looks, and I really think it's when everything's going good in life, it's easy to be a good dad. Everything's all good. But when things go
Mm,
wrong and you face adversity, I think it's crazy how observant your kids are to how you handle it as a man and through everything you go through. I was actually joking with my twin brother the other day because he's faced some adversity in his professional life recently, and it's like nothing's gone his way. But the way he was handling it, it was just so professional, and he was doing that. And I remember telling him,
Oh,
I'm like, I'm really happy your kids get to see you go through this and your wife go through this and how well you've handled it because they're gonna learn from that when they become adults. It'll go a long way. And if you don't mind, I'll go into a kind of a story of where I learned when I was at my
please.
best and when I wasn't at my best. So
yeah.
two events really shaped a lot of things in my life ago there. And when I was watching the first episode of the Dadcast, it broke my heart when Steve was sharing about losing his father at such a young age and like the challenges that would come there. Then I experienced two car accidents that should have killed me, like flat out.
Wow.
I'm really
Wow.
lucky to be here. So the first one, my kids were 6 and 3. Second one, they were 10 and 7. I had to think about like what would life look like if I just disappeared today, and then they had to try to figure everything
Mm,
out on their own, what mindset that would come with. So on the positive side of it, it changes your mindset to think like, wow, tomorrow's never promised. Like, not going to waste any
Mm,
opportunity. So, I mean, at the time I was coaching machine pitch baseball. I came back and I was a more relaxed coach. I was like, before I was so intense all the time.
wow.
I'm like, no, like these kids just need to have fun. Let's make space for that, right? Even as a
yeah.
parent, I was like, was always focused on, no, I got to raise these boys to be strong young men. And I was kind of relaxed a bit. It's like, let's have some fun. Let's do this, right? Have that mentality.
Mm.
Um, on the negative side was, how does having a life where you're in chronic pain, how does that affect you? And I found it was some interesting things. Like I remember after the first car accident, we were at the Calgary Stampede, and my youngest son Carter wanted to go on my shoulders, and I couldn't do it. And he's bawling his eyes out. He doesn't understand, and it's like the guilt you feel
Mm.
from that. It's like, oh, like I'm not
Mm.
being my best dad. I remember, taking the kids to the park, and that was usually I found joy in that. We'd play on the climbers together, and I found like it almost took the joy out of it. I was sitting on the bench playing on my phone, being miserable, and it's weird how
Mhm.
that affects you. And like you're
Mm.
self-aware, you're not being a good dad. You know that those kids deserve better, but it's like how you fight through that. And like things have improved over the years and gotten um, a lot better with that. But it's interesting to see, kind of a message for dads, like you could be in a really rough spot no matter what it is, but it's how you show up through that, how you battle through that. And, you hope that your kids see how you're going through that and how you've adjusted and trying to make them a priority. But those were kind of definitely some experiences where it's hard when you're sitting there like, I know I can be better, but you don't know how to get there right away.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's amazing you say that because just this morning, Paul and I were talking about how everybody has stuff going on, you know, and that sometimes you got to put them in buckets.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could, like you talk about your twin brother, something really bad's going on, but you don't let it transfer to every part of your life.
Yep.
You realize that being a dad is important. Doing having a vocation or a job is important, but it's you got to separate them sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
which is cool you're doing that or you've
Yeah.
done that
And
with as it relates
yeah.
to.
And what really resonates too, Mike, is how you act and how you demonstrate and how you lead the way for your kids to see this. And, you know, that is such a great reminder for dads. It's like sometimes we kind of look for an anchor to change and really focusing on how am I showing up for my kids? Do my
Mm-hmm.
kids see me at my best? Do they see me at my worst? And that's such a great reminder to always be mindful that those little monkeys over there are always eyes on dad, eyes on mom,
Yeah.
and how we perform, right? So thank you for the reminder.
No, yeah, it's been pretty cool with that too. Like one thing I've always tried to instill the kids is, with sports and community being so much a part that shaped me is like, I try to teach them
Mm,
community is not free. It doesn't, these things don't come to you like the coaches that come into your life, like they're, have good intentions to make your life better. And like, one thing we started doing was, the three of us, we started an after school soccer program at my son's elementary school. And this was actually the
Oh,
first year that we did it where the kids aren't at the school anymore. My oldest is in high school and the youngest one's in junior high, but it's awesome to see them. They like rush after school to get to the program we do once a week, and now they basically run it.
oh,
I actually don't have to do it, but it's really cool to see like, how, because I try to teach them like just do something nice for someone without expecting something in return. And I'm watching them
yeah,
like their mindsets change to like they're not going there for them. They're there because they want to help other kids and give back to the
yeah,
school they're a part of. And like for me, it's like, man, life is full now. I was just grateful to be here and grateful to watch them grow up. And then you always think like tomorrow's never promised. Like what are you leaving behind in this world? And I think, you know
hmm.
the what we instill in our kids is what we leave behind in this world, and it's pretty cool to watch
mm,
them grow up, and it's been fun.
yeah, yeah.
You know
That's
what's really
great,
cool?
isn't it?
Also, I'll just say is, and we're saying cool a lot, but you're actually raising better human teenagers.
Oh
The
yeah,
fact
I
that
read
you're
that book. That
you're
was a really good book, by the way. I really
yeah, and
enjoyed
you
that one.
Yeah,
and they're doing that. Like you said,
yeah,
they're doing volunteerism. That I'm gonna say that is attributed to you and how you
yeah,
show up and what you do to make things happen. So congratulations on that.
yeah,
That's
Oh,
you see
thanks.
the impact, right? On what yourself as a dad.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, it's
Such a
definitely a lot
proud
of
Um,
fun.
dad moment to see your kids running that soccer club. Like
oh
that's
yeah, it's
just got to
huge.
feel great, right?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
well, they're better at it than me too because I never played soccer growing up, but they love it. Like good, they can actually teach the kids stuff. I'm just the cool dad there. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
Being a cool dad is okay, man.
that's
I
right.
tell
Yeah,
you.
We all
I
have
guess
our
so.
Yeah,
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 yeah. We all
you
have our
got that
strengths.
title. Yeah, yeah. Um,
That's
but
awesome.
and so talking to you and once again knowing you, you're very reflective and really self-aware of who you are and what you do. Just curious, who your kids are 13, 16. If you're looking back, are there some things you might have done differently as a dad?
This is an interesting question. I really enjoyed watching previous episodes, and you asked this one. I think is one of the best questions, and I would say I wouldn't change a thing, absolutely nothing, because I
Fantastic.
think about if we painted a picture, if we were perfect dads, and we made all the right decisions, what would that look like for our kids' development? They would go into a world thinking everything's perfect and they don't need to work for anything. But I think every mistake you make, because we've all made them, and I could pinpoint 20 of them right now, but when they see that you're not their best, they realize that dad's not perfect, mom's not perfect, that we're human and that we make
Mm-hmm.
mistakes. And then they're more concerned with, well, what'd you do about it, right? And if it's a pattern and
Hmm.
things that could leave a negative impact. But I look back and I'm like, no. It's funny. I was talking to my youngest son Carter over the weekend. I was like, okay, man, I need some homework. You need to tell me one thing I'm doing good as a dad and one thing bad. He's like, okay. And
Okay.
he's honest. He's hilarious. And he says he's like, well, the good thing you do, he says, you bring enough discipline that we're not brats. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. And
Wow.
and then he's like, the thing that you is like you need to improve on is like you don't need to spaz right away. You could like take a breath and think about it. Just start laughing. It's like,
So
you
good.
know,
Uh,
it's kind of
that's
cool just
funny.
to get their perspective on that too, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
even
that,
the language, eh?
him and I can have that conversation. I'm like, oh, that was honest. That was pretty sweet. So
Oh, that's
Well,
so cool you're
yeah,
doing that.
yeah.
We're we've got an assessment, self-assessment on being a better human dad, and one of the options is for the kids to do an evaluation of
yeah,
their parents, of their
Oh
dad, I
yeah.
should say. And so
yeah. We're
we'll
all
see.
scared to
I
ask our
know
kids.
Takes
Paul
360
and I,
feedback to a new level.
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, Paul
yeah,
and I have both done that, and I have to admit, I was really nervous to hear what my son was going to say, and it turned out to be okay. But I was have to admit, it's like, oh man, I remember, typing up. He lives out of the country, so I was typing it up, saying, "Hey, Kate, let me know," and it was good to
yeah,
hear.
yeah.
That's
You
really
always got
cool.
lots of ideas of how you can get better. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
and
So,
I'm from. Sorry, Paul, you go ahead.
no, go ahead, Stevie.
I was going to say, that whole continuous improvement thing that you do, like, how did you learn how to do that? Or how did that become
I, th-
you?
I think it just became motivation as being a young dad. Like as we're teenagers, you don't really know where life's going to hit you. But I remember
Hmm.
just my sole focus was, I didn't know what I was going to do for a career. I mean, I was working as a construction laborer, trying to make ends meet. I had no idea what I was going to do about life. Just was like really trying to afford diapers in an apartment and struggle through life. But I said, I refuse to raise these my one son at the time, but I was like, I refuse to live a life where I can't give him opportunities to have a good life. So that
Mm-hmm.
came to me as like with everything in life, whether it was through work. Like I remember going to carpentry school. I know I'd be a carpenter, but everyone else would say, "Oh, we're going for a beer." I'm like, "No, I'm going to the library to study because I need to do good at this. I need to be, 10% better at everything I do in life, professionally, at home." And it just kind of that mindset kind of went through everything there, and it was really a focus of saying, I need to be at my best for these kids, and they deserve an opportunity, and I'm going to fight like hell to get there. And I still do that, even though they're older now and they're doing fine and things worked out okay. But I think it's almost like a chip on your shoulder saying, I will not fail at life, and they
Mm-hmm.
deserve me at my best. So
Yeah.
that's kind
Yeah,
of where
and
that
look how
Was
came
your
from.
successful you become, right? You become
Yeah,
very successful
Hmm.
yeah,
at a young age in a very tough environment, I'm going to say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, was your dad part of all that? Was as you were when you first got notified that you were going to have a boy? Did your dad kind of help you along the way, or did you kind of figure it out on your own?
Yeah, no, you know what? He was very supportive, both my parents and everybody, and a lot of it was, like I had moved to Alberta and I was far away, and they would always laugh at the frequency of phone calls from when I was, in my early 20s over there, and I'd be calling about
Yeah.
everything and running it by them, and it was always like, just great support and advice, and
That's
they'd always pick up the phone. I'd call about anything, and what it was. And as time went on and start to get your life together and things are going, maybe the phone calls dwindled a little bit. We still talk all the
Yeah.
time, but um,
Yeah.
I remember like I never felt alone or abandoned. Or I always had uh, someone I could talk to who was supportive, which is great. So
Mm. Okay, I got one more question about your mindset. Like, how you like. I'm curious how you developed the belief or the mindset that I have to do better. Like, was there a tipping point? Was there something that happened, or do you think it's a result of the messaging that your parents gave you as you grew up?
I think a lot of it was competitiveness. Like my twin brother and I, played sports at a high level together, and there was really two or three coaches in my life that really drilled this into us. So I remember a lot of it was from playing
Mm,
football, and that was really got us there. So I had and kind of different personalities. I had a coach who was like super intense, would push us to the limits of what we could do, and that and taught you how to win, how you can be more competitive than anyone else. And I had another coach who had a heart of gold and was probably one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And in contrast with that, that really kind of shaped me in those formative years of, what it takes to be successful. And it was that kind of that competitiveness. And I always found like I learned way more from sports than I ever learned in the classroom about life and all kinds of stuff. And just wanted to
mm,
carry that forward. And then, being a father of two boys, I want nothing but the same for them and to give them, I remember like even when I was leaving high school, I had so much confidence in life that no matter what the world threw at me, I could handle it. Like I just was built that way, and then kind of
mm,
resonated into adult life as well.
mm.
Um,
That's
that's
interesting. You say you were
great.
built that way. That's an interesting statement.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that too, I think it's interesting as dads. Like sometimes we want to be the hero and guide our kids the way, but there's nothing wrong with a really good coach coming into their life, a really good teacher. You never know that's going to
Yeah.
be able to supplement that and help shape them that way too,
Yeah.
right? And so it doesn't always have to be us. It's like right now, it's been really awesome to see they've had some really good coaches over the years, and watching the influence that they've had on them in their soccer careers and everything like that. It's just been
Right.
awesome, and sitting there as a dad, all you can do is appreciate it because you can see what an influence that they're having over them, having a strong role model
Yeah.
through their years. It's really nice to see.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Hmm. Wonderful. Yeah, that's fantastic. Because it's like I say, it's like sometimes it's the law of familiarity, and your parents are just wah 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 wah, and then you have a coach who says the same thing, and it's like, oh my god, that just makes so much sense. So I love that
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um, so it just, as we kind of wrap this up, just very curious, if a new dad was coming to you asking for advice, what kind of things would you share with them?
I would say, you don't have to have it all figured out. It's not a kind of thing where if you follow a 5-step plan and you read 10 books that you're going to suddenly be super dad. I think it's enjoy the journey,
Hmm.
embrace your mistakes, and just have that reflective mindset. Like, just take a look and say like, hey, how's this going? And, it's I always think is that you can't eat the elephant all in one bite. It's little steps, and like
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
parenting, I see it really do like one thing right at a time. Give it some thought and enjoy it, because tomorrow's never promised. You just keep plugging away and enjoy those moments with your kids, because before you know it, they're adults, and you're like, where did that time go?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
Absolutely.
Because it's true, like you said, there aren't a lot of there are books, of course, about being a parent, but they're kind of technical, and whereas what you're talking about is helping them grow,
Well, yeah, it's
as
interesting because
people.
one thing I do like in part of my career and stuff is I talk to a lot of kids that are coming up wanting to go into the trades for a career, right? And a lot of people are
Mm,
kind of that teenage years, they're kind of unsure where to go. And I was like, there's a reason why your parents and your teachers, they want you to follow a 5-step plan, because they want you to learn from their mistakes. They want things to work out for you.
that's
But I'm
good.
like, when you go off the plan and life gets hard, you hit rock bottom, it's a lot more exciting. And if you just keep plugging away, you're gonna have a pretty full life. So life doesn't have to follow the plan. It doesn't have to go. It's just how do you handle the curveballs, and do you do it with integrity and with the right message forward? And I think kids can learn a lot as you go through that.
Yeah.
Mm, it's really, really
Well,
good.
it's really true in your case too, because at 19 you became a dad, and that's a whole different world at 19.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so just, any last words you'd like to share with people who be listening to the Dadcast?
No, I think just spread the word. What you guys are doing is fantastic, and I always think um, being a dad can sometimes be isolating and lonely. Sometimes you got a lot on your shoulders, and there's not a lot of people to talk to about that necessarily, right? And that's for moms
Yeah,
too. I think it can be a tough world there. Everyone's working hard, try to do what they can, build their families. But the more we network and help each other, and spread the word, the
Yeah.
better it is. It's really nice when you can build a community of like good people you can bounce ideas off of, and know that none of us are at this alone. There's always support out
sure.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Great
that's
comment.
a great point.
Yeah.
Absolutely great point. Well, really appreciate you taking the time today to talk to us and sharing your stories. And
Yeah.
and I know the things you said will be very inspiring to dads, and you know the messages that you shared with us are very powerful. So
Yeah.
thank you for doing that. Really appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Mike. We
Awesome. And
appreciate
thank you
your,
guys.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a
Well,
great day.
yeah,
You as
and
well, guys. Take care.
and lastly here, just the one last thing is that we're dads talking to dads about being dads. So
Love it.
okay, take care.
Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye bye.